Welcome back. In Module 2, we're going to take a deeper dive into the actual loan programs, the process, and some of the products that we offer.
Okay, here are some of the topics we're actually going to discuss. Our red carpet renovation process, the FHA 203K loan, the limited and the standard version. We're going to talk a little bit about who a HUD consultant is and what role they play. We're also going to talk about conventional renovation loan programs such as the Homestyle. We're going to talk about the sales contract, some of the costs, FHA versus conventional, and then we'll wrap up with some basic questions and answers.
Red carpet renovation. Our red carpet renovation call is unique to AnnieMac. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is setting the right expectation and walking your clients through this unique process. One of the biggest misconceptions or the challenges that people have is that renovation loans are difficult simply because there's a lot of moving parts. So from inception, we take our dedicated team. So what is red carpet renovation? Red carpet renovation is an actual phone call that we've set up with our dedicated team where you as the realtor, your buyer, the attorneys, anyone involved in the transaction can get on the call and all the expectations are set from start to finish. We outline exactly what the buyer should expect. This way, it takes all the heavy lifting off of you as the agent to reiterate a process that you're not necessarily familiar with, especially since you're new to this program. On the red carpet call, we will go over all of the details, identify who's involved, and give your buyers the education they need to have a successful experience with a renovation loan.
The best part about the call is we do it right away. So we don't waste any time getting this information to the buyer so that they don't have to learn this loan program as they go along. Keeping the loan organized and efficient is one of the main recipes for a successful, smooth transaction when it comes to renovation. In addition to the other items covered on the red carpet call, we also discuss the people who are involved and the time that they're involved. Setting the expectations as to when you should see these certain people, when we order certain parts of the loan program, make your job easier as a real estate agent because you're reminded of this each and every loan that you start with AnnieMac. There are many different loan programs that can include renovation today. We refer to them as loan products in the lending world. Most commonly, people know about the FHA 203K, but there's been a lot of involvement into different loan programs that we will cover today that will present more versatility and different options.
The first product.
So the first product we're going to discuss today is the FHA 203K Limited. With the Limited, there's a maximum budget of $35,000 for the renovations. Your down payment is based off of the purchase price plus your budget, and the down payment requirement is 3.5% down. With this program, it's for primary residences only. 50% of the material costs is released 5 to 7 days after closing, and the remaining 50% is paid once the project is complete. The FHA 203K Limited is for non-structural and cosmetic repairs only, and the $35,000 limit includes contingency, permits, and any fees involved. So with the 203K Limited, all projects must be completed within 6 months. All contractors have to be well-funded, licensed, and certified, and a HUD consultant is not required with the Limited. So here are some examples of repairs that can be made to a property with a 203K Limited. Roofs, gutters, and downspouts, repairs of an HVAC system, anything plumbing and electrical, flooring, minor remodeling, such as redoing a kitchen, redoing a bathroom, painting, both interior and exterior, weatherization, installation of appliances, accessibility improvements for disabled buyers, lead-based paint stabilization, abatement, repair, replace exterior decks, patios, porches, basement finishes and remodeling that are non-structural in nature, window and door replacements, septic systems, well repair.
The next renovation loan program we're going to discuss is the FHA 203K Standard. This is a version of the loan program where a buyer is buying a home that is in need of major rehabilitation and when they could be structural in nature as well. The standard 203K is also used when the total renovation costs exceed $35,000. The borrower will also get an added layer of protection from the use of a 203K or HUD consultant. Consultants are experts in their field and are used to safeguard against under or overestimating the cost of the repairs. For this loan program, the down payment is 3.5%. The 3.5% requirement is based off of the purchase price of the house plus the repairs. Okay. For an FHA 203K, just like the limited, you can only use this loan program for a home you're going to utilize as your primary residence. For an FHA 203K standard, there is also a county loan limit. You can have your loan officer at AnnieMac look these loan limits up for you depending on where you're located. For an FHA 203K standard, the repairs must be completed within 6 months. Contractors must be licensed and insured to provide good references. Contractors must also be well funded as they receive no money up front unless it's for special orders that are not in stock. The following is a list of example repair items for the FHA 203K standard. Structural alterations and additions, conversions of a multifamily to a single family or vice versa, upgrade central air, heat and or electrical systems, repair termite or moisture damage, remodeled kitchen and baths, install or repair well or septic systems, roofing, gutters, downspouts, flooring, tiling and carpeting, interior or exterior painting, energy conservation improvements, major landscaping, improvements for disability accessibility, new freestanding appliances, foundation repair, or any other improvement that are a permanent part of the real estate. Luxury items are not permitted to be included in the financing of the FHA 203K standard. Here are some basics for the FHA 203K. The types of properties can include single-family homes, 2 to 4 unit multifamily, or mixed-use commercial and residential use together. Credit score requirements are 600 for the minimum FICO score, and the debt-to-income ratio that your loan officer will analyze is based on the approval of our standard automated underwriting systems. For a purchase of a home, you can put down as little as 3.5%, and if you're refinancing a home, you can borrow up to 97.75%. Ability to go up to 96.5 to 110% of the after improved value for all property types except condos, which is limited to 100%, is also available on a refinance. There's something called identity of interest with an FHA 203K loan that's very important. One of the things that we also notice when we're dealing with buyers is that a lot of people tend to know someone in their family who might be a contractor. Well, FHA has some strict rules around not being able to use a contractor that you have an interest or an identity of interest with, hence a family member in that case. Getting a referral from a family member to a contractor is okay, you just cannot have a direct relation to them. We've identified the definition of what identity of interest is here in our slide as well. There's something called a contingency reserve for an FHA 203K loan, whether it be the limited or the standard. It's up to 20% of the cost of the rehabilitation, and it's 15% if the utilities were not on at the time of the inspection or appraisal. It has to be a minimum of 10%. So after the improvements are made, the contingency reserve account can be used by the borrower to make additional improvements to the dwelling. A request for change letter must be submitted with the applicable cost estimates, and the lender will determine the acceptability. Basically, it's like this. When you have a $50,000 renovation budget, for an example, and it's a 10% contingency reserve, what that means is $5,000 is added to the $50,000, because that's $5,000 is 10%, where those funds are going to be held for incidentals or unforeseen things that could take place during the renovation process. We use the example, the contractor takes down a wall, there's mold behind the wall, nobody knew the mold was there. This contingency reserve is there to make sure that the buyer or borrower of the loan does not have to go back into their pocket at any time, and that there's some extra money there to cover things that can come up. Basically, what the second portion of what we just mentioned is saying is that if the monies are not used at the end of the renovations, the buyer has the advantage of actually taking that and putting it back down towards the principal balance of their loan, or it can be used to supplement other finishing items with the contractor, such as molding or lighting or stuff like that. They can actually use that money. So it's a very nice safeguard in the renovation process to know that there is some security for the buyer as they go through the renovation phase after the loan is closed.
Okay. So now we're going to review the contract and costs associated with renovation financing. Okay. It's important that you identify in your contract that your buyers are going to apply for a renovation loan and indicate whether it's a Homestyle or a 203K. There are additional costs associated with renovation financing, largely due to the fact that we're working on these loans up to 6 months after the buyer takes possession. So after closing, there's title updates, consultant inspections, supplemental origination fees, architect and permit costs, which are all identified up front at the point of pre-qualification so that your buyers understand exactly what's associated with the renovation loan from a cost perspective.
You've heard us mention the FHA 203K consultant, or commonly known as a HUD consultant, already during this certification class. So who is that person? Well, a consultant is an advocate to the client and also is the eyes and the ears for the lender. What they're going to do is an initial write-up called an SOR. The SOR stands for Specification of Repairs. They also are going to approve for draws by doing draw inspections. That's where they go out and make sure something was completed so that the contractor can be paid. And they're also going to be looking at the exit inspections. What you see next is a sample specification of repair report, commonly known as the SOR. So this is going to be a report that the HUD consultant is going to draw up. This is going to be somewhat of a roadmap for what needs to be done to make the home habitable. So there's a few different portions of the SOR. The consultant goes out to the house and will notate all of the things that need to be done regardless of if the buyer wants to or not. So those are going to be health and safety areas or incompleted areas of the home that we know need to be fixed. In addition, the HUD consultant is going to have a section where he may make some recommendations, where he may say the roof has only a few years left on it. It doesn't need to be fixed, but we recommend that you consider doing it. And in addition to that, lastly, the buyer themselves have the ability to say, you know what, this kitchen, yeah, it's functioning and we like it just fine, but we would like to, take these countertops and make them granite. That's not something that needs to be done, but that's something they'd like to do. So the SOR report, when it initially comes in, will contain all of those things. What the consultant will then do is they will itemize everything out by a cost for both material and labor to give the buyer an idea or an estimate of what they think that project that they're looking at will cost. And another feature of the SOR, the HUD consultant will put on there how many months the project will require the home buyer to not live in the house. Now, this is a very unique piece of the SOR because let's say, for an example, that the SOR is noted where there is only going to be 2 months that the home buyer may not live in the house. Maybe they're taking the roof off of the home or they're fixing, plumbing or electric where it's not safe for them to be in the home during that time. Well, with our renovation loan programs, the home buyer can actually finance those 2 months in this example, those mortgage payments into the overall renovation budget. And the assumption there is that for those 2 months, they will have to pay to live elsewhere during that time. Therefore, if we did not allow for that, they would potentially have to pay to live somewhere during those 2 months and also the mortgage payments during that time. So that's a very nice feature for you to consider when you're dealing with a home buyer who might say, I'd like to do this big job, but where am I supposed to go during the job? Well, the easy answer is there's a potential for you to finance mortgage payments during those months into the overall renovation budget. The FHA 203K consultant does have a cost for their services. The beauty of this is that these costs are predetermined and set by the federal government. So it's very easy for us as a lender and you as a realtor to discuss how much those costs are. The costs for the consultant is based solely on how much of the repairs are going to cost. So if you see a chart here that we have in our presentation, for example, repairs from $0 to $7,500, the consulting costs $400. Well, if you go to a repair of $50,000 to $75,000, that consultant would cost $800. In some cases, if the buyer is unsure about what type of work is needed to be done, there is an ability to do something called a feasibility study. That price is subject to be priced by the actual HUD consultant depending on the property. The beauty of this is that not everybody knows if it's going to be a $35,000 repair or less and know whether we're going to need to do a limited version or the standard FHA 203K. So in some cases, if that's an option that the home buyer would like to consider, a feasibility study can be ordered, therefore showing them exactly how much they think the actual renovations will be, and that will help the buyer and the loan officer decide whether the FHA 203K standard or limited is more suitable.
So the next program we're going to discuss is the conventional Fannie Mae Homestyle. The Fannie Mae Homestyle Renovation Loan is our standard renovation program for conventional loans. With this program, you can perform all the same renovations as with an FHA 203K, but without the limitations since, after all, this is a conventional loan. The final loan amount can be as high as the max county limit, and that will vary, obviously, by county. Renovation costs are limited to 75% of the completed value of the home. You can finance a primary residence with as little as 3% down of the purchase price and the cost of the renovation. If you wish to put down 20%, unlike the FHA 203K, with the conventional home style, you can avoid mortgage insurance. Primary homes, second homes, and investment properties are eligible with the Fannie Mae Homestyle. With the conventional Fannie Mae Homestyle, in addition to what you can do on an FHA 203K, the Homestyle will allow for luxury items such as swimming pools and outdoor kitchens. Here are some parameters for the Fannie Mae Homestyle. 1 to 4 unit primary residence, 1 unit second homes, and 1 unit investment properties, which is unlike the FHA 203K that only allows financing for primary residences. You need to have a 620 minimum credit score, and your debt to income will follow DU findings. Fannie Mae Homestyle will allow for a 1 unit primary residence to be financed with as little as 3% down. A 2 unit property requires 15% down. 3 to 4 unit properties require 75% down. A second home can be financed with 10% down. 1 unit investment properties require 15% down. Refinances require 75% down on investment properties. As you can see, there's a lot more flexibility with the Homestyle than the FHA 203K.
The next person in the renovation loan process we would like to discuss is the contractor. Clearly, this is somebody who's a very important role, and we encourage that all of the buyers that are looking for contractors try to find the right one that isn't just the cheapest price. It's definitely a case of you get what you pay for. When we look at a contractor, we require the contractors to be licensed and insured. They have to execute the homeowner and contractor agreement. So there is a small package that we do have them fill out. If we go back to the red carpet call that we have with our buyers, we actually will send them the contractor package that early on in the process. We tell our buyers, don't make the contractor the reason why you don't close on time. So you do want to find a contractor who's medium or larger sized. This also is a requirement for them to be well funded. So a one-man band, single contractor generally is not going to be the right fit for this. They have to provide detailed written estimates of the work to be completed and give us a bid as well. We also give them an outline of how they are paid, and we need them to understand the way that they are paid via the draws. You can have up to 3 specialized contractors on a limited K and 1 general contractor on a full 203K or home style. There is some recommended training for contractors, and that's available at 203kcontractors.com. Some recommended places to find a contractor could be Angie's List, Home Advisor, House.com. Obviously, just looking at testimonials or reviews of local contractors as well. So lastly, we're going to compare the FHA 203K to a conventional renovation mortgage. So FHA allows for credit scores down to a 600, where conventional is 620. FHA allows for higher debt to income ratios than a conventional loan will, Part of what your loan officer is going to do is determine which renovation loan is actually better and more suitable for your client when we're pre-qualifying them. So this is something that's good for you to know, but not something that you're actually going to have to physically do. Conventional is less expensive because there's no mortgage insurance depending on the loan to value. There's an upfront mortgage insurance that applies to 100% of FHA mortgages. There's less restrictions on conventional from a minimum property standards requirement. And there's no identity of interest on conventional. Again, the identity of interest is when you actually know the contractor. You cannot know the contractor for FHA, where you could have an identity of interest with the contractor for a conventional loan. Luxury items such as pools are allowed on conventional, but not allowed on an FHA. Conventional is capped on the amount of the work that is allowed to be in the renovation to 75% of the after improved value, where FHA has no cap. As you can tell, there are some distinctive differences between FHA and conventional renovation mortgages. A word or tip of advice for you would be to just refer to these types of programs as renovation loans. Let your AnnieMac loan officer determine which one is more right for your borrower or buyer. And that completes the certification. You'll now be asked to take a 10-question quiz.
Upon completion of your quiz, you will become a certified renovation real estate agent.
Would like to be the first to congratulate you and thank you for your time again today. And please thank the loan officer who's in the room with you today for sponsoring you for this National Lunch and Learn.
Thank you.
Take care.